My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 45, and for over 10 years, I was the principal solutions architect at Innovate Solutions, one of the largest tech companies in Silicon Valley. Throughout that decade, I delivered solid results, saved the company millions of dollars, and innovated quietly behind the scenes. I was literally the backbone of many of the company's successful projects, the guy who solved problems no one else could. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. I've always been a professional focused on delivering clean code and efficient solutions, not on flattery or self-promotion. While other colleagues spent hours at happy hours and social gatherings, I was in the lab developing the company's next innovations. My discretion and technical competence were recognized by the team, but apparently not by senior management. At Innovate, I realized that real value seemed to lie more in appearance and networking than in concrete results. I was a technical mind behind many process optimizations that generated substantial savings. When the company needed to fix a critical bug that threatened to bring down the entire system, they called me. When they needed to optimize an algorithm to reduce processing costs, I was a guy. But in executive meetings, my name was rarely mentioned. It was always, the team did an exceptional job, or our developers are the best in the market. Never Daniel Hayes saved the project once again. For months, I had been noticing subtle changes in the environment. Lucas Reed, a 40-year-old colleague known for his glibness and self-promotion skills, began receiving credit for ideas that weren't his. His empty presentations filled with buzzwords and little technical substance were celebrated as brilliant strategic insights. Meanwhile, my detailed reports with deep analyses and practical solutions were filed away without much recognition. My intuition, sharpened by years of analyzing systems and detecting architectural flaws, told me something was wrong. The favoritism towards Lucas was deeper than it seemed. I knew the company was losing its way in its own internal politics, prioritizing charisma over competence. The blow came at the annual promotions meeting on a Thursday in March. My boss, Mr. Richard Thompson, a 55-year-old man known for his political acumen and obsession with corporate appearances, summoned the entire development team to the main auditorium. The tension in the air was palpable. We all knew big changes were coming. I am pleased to announce our new Vice President of Development, Thompson said with a rehearsed political smile. Someone who has demonstrated not only technical competence, but above all the energy and leadership profile our company needs for the future. My heart pounded after 3 years of vying for this promotion. My time had finally come. Lucas Reed, Thompson announced. The world stopped for a second. I felt the injustice burn inside me like sulfuric acid, but outwardly my expression remained completely impassive, politely applauding while watching Lucas walk on the stage. That arrogant smile plastered on his face was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Thompson continued praising Lucas's strategic vision and natural leadership ability, completely ignoring my impeccable track record of deliverables, innovations, and unwavering loyalty I had shown throughout my decade at the company. I was already mentally exhausted by the toxic favoritism that dominated Innovate culture. But at that moment, something shifted within me. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. My mind, trained to solve complex problems, was already beginning to work on a plan far more elaborate and devastating than anyone in that auditorium could imagine. What no one knew is that 2 years ago in my free time, I had been secretly developing something revolutionary, a project performance management platform called Ascend Performance. It was exactly the solution Innovate needed to optimize its processes, but which they never allowed me to officially implement. Every time I suggested improvements to the management system, I received the same standard response. We don't have the budget for that right now. Daniel. Ironically, while they denied resources for real innovation, they spent fortunes on external consultants who delivered pretty reports and mediocre solutions. I knew I could do better, and I did. For 2 years, I worked late nights, weekends, and holidays building line by line what would be my masterpiece. The platform integrated predictive analysis, workflow automation, and intelligent dashboards that could identify bottlenecks before they even happened. It was a kind of innovation Innovate claimed to seek, but never invested in when it came from within. I had all records meticulously organized, thousands of hours of development, all source code properly versioned, complete technical documentation, and even the preliminary patents already registered in my name. Everything was legal and above any suspicion. I have been extremely careful to ensure that no line of Innovate code was used. It was 100% my work, my creation, my future. 3 months before the fateful promotions meeting, I had already made discreet contacts with Ascend Technologies, a direct competitor of Innovate located in Austin, Texas. When I presented my platform to Jennifer Walsh, Ascend CEO, her reaction was immediate. "Daniel, this is exactly what the market needs. We want to talk about acquisition and a leadership position for you." The proposal was tempting. $2 million for the platform, plus equity in the company and the position of Vice President of Innovation. Everything I had always wanted, but which Innovate never had the courage to offer me. I asked for time to think, but deep down I already knew what my decision would be. I was just waiting for the right moment. After the public humiliation of the denied promotion, that moment had arrived. Lucas assumed his new position with all the pomp and circumstances egocentric personality demanded. In his first week as VP, he scheduled meetings with all departments to get to know the processes better and implement his strategic vision. The problem is Lucas had no strategic vision at all. He just repeated corporate jargon and buzzwords he had learned in leadership courses. "We need to think outside the box and create synergy between departments," he said in a meeting. "Our roadmap needs to be more agile and customer-centric." I observed in silence, making mental notes of every piece of nonsense that came out his mouth. Lucas had no idea of the technical complexity of the projects he now oversaw. When questioned about specific details, he would deflect or delegate to the experts to analyze. In other words, to me and a few other senior developers who truly understood the business, Thompson, for his part, was beaming with his choice. He saw in Lucas the perfect protege, charismatic, well-articulated, and most importantly, submissive to his wishes. Lucas would never question Thompson's decisions or propose changes that could threaten the status quo. He was exactly the kind of leader Thompson wanted, someone who wouldn't overshadow his own power. Meanwhile, I was quietly preparing for my departure. I organized all my personal files, transferred my side project to my own devices, and began documenting all the critical knowledge that only I possessed at the company, not out of malice, but out of professionalism. I knew my absence would cause a significant impact, and I wanted to ensure that at least the essential information remained recorded. During this period, I watched with growing interest as Lucas began to get tangled in his own incompetence. He approved changes to the main code without understanding their implications, causing bugs that took days to identify and fix. He canceled important technical meetings to attend networking events. And worst of all, he started taking credit for other developers' work, presenting himself as the mentor behind every solution. The last straw came when Lucas called me into his new office and told me, "Daniel, I need you to prepare a detailed report on all your projects. I want to better understand what you do here." After 10 years at the company, being called in to solve every technical crisis, he wanted to understand what I did. The irony was so absurd, I almost laughed in his face. "Of course, Lucas," I replied calmly. "I'll prepare everything for you." And that's exactly what I did. I prepared everything, including my resignation letter. I drafted my resignation letter with the same meticulous care I applied to every line of code I wrote. Every word was deliberately chosen, every sentence constructed to convey absolute professionalism, but with a subliminal message that only those involved would fully comprehend. The letter began conventionally, thanking them for the years of experience and growth opportunities. I mentioned some notable projects, always using specific technical language that demonstrated my depth of knowledge. I explained that the time had come to seek new challenges and that my decision was irrevocable, but it was in the last line that I laid my true cards on the table. I sincerely hope that Innovate Next phase thrives under the new leadership. As for my proprietary platform, Ascend Performance, it will officially launch with Ascend Technologies next week, where I will assume the role of Vice President of Innovation. I delivered the letter personally to Mr. Thompson on a Monday morning. I knocked on his office door, entered with my usual calm, confident demeanor, and placed the envelope on his imported mahogany desk. "What is this, Daniel?" he asked, still unsuspecting. "My resignation letter, Mr. Thompson. My last day will be next Friday." I watched his expression gradually change as he read each line. First surprise, then confusion. When he reached the last sentence, his face literally froze. He reread that line 3 times before looking up to meet my gaze. "Daniel, what exactly does this mean about a proprietary platform?" "It means that for the past 2 years, I've been developing a revolutionary performance management solution in my spare time that Ascend Technologies has just acquired for a considerable sum. It's a platform that could have been developed here at Innovate if there had been genuine interest in internal innovation." The color completely drained from his face. Thompson was experienced enough in business to immediately understand the catastrophic implications of what he was hearing. Not only was he losing his lead developer, but that developer was taking a potentially disruptive innovation directly to a competitor. "Daniel, we need to talk about this." "Please sit down." "There's nothing to discuss, Mr. Thompson. Everything was done within the strictest legality. I exclusively used my personal time, my own resources, and no intellectual property from Innovate. My lawyers have already reviewed all the documentation." Thompson tried to maintain his composure, but I could see the panic growing in his eyes. He knew exactly how much critical knowledge I possess about the company's systems and how many projects depended directly on my technical expertise. That same afternoon, Lucas appeared in my office with an expression that mixed confusion and despair. Apparently, Thompson had shared the good news with him. "Daniel, man, what's going on?" "Thompson told me you're leaving to work with the competition." "That's exactly right, Lucas. I'm leaving, but you can't do this. The company needs you." "I need you. I'm still adapting to the role. And you should have thought about that before." I calmly interrupted. "You took on a technical leadership position without having the necessary technical competence. That's your problem, not mine." Lucas tried to argue, offering partnerships, promising changes, even suggesting that we could work together to resolve the situation. But I was already mentally out of that building. My mind was focused on the future I had built with my own hands. Over the next few days, the situation rapidly deteriorated. Thompson called my personal cell phone several times. Initially trying to negotiate, he offered the promotion I always wanted, double my salary, promised total autonomy to implement my ideas. He even suggested that Lucas could be reassigned to another department. "Daniel, this is a mistake. You are part of the Innovate family. We can fix this." My answer was always the same. Polite silence followed by, "My decision is final, Mr. Thompson." When reconciliation attempts failed, veiled threats began. The company's legal department sent an email threatening lawsuits for possible theft of intellectual property and violation of non-compete clauses. It was a desperate attempt at intimidation, but I was prepared for it. My lawyers at Ascend Technologies responded promptly, providing all documentation proving that my platform had been developed independently using my own resources and did not violate any contractual clauses. Innovative quickly backed down when they realized their threats had no legal basis. Meanwhile, I watched the chaos gradually set in at the company. Without my presence to solve critical problems, small failures began to accumulate. Systems that I kept running through elegant solutions began to show instability. Projects that depended on my specific knowledge entered a state of technical paralysis. Lucas, desperate, tried to solve issues for which he didn't even have the necessary theoretical knowledge. I saw him spend sleepless nights trying to cipher code I had written years earlier without success. His frustration was palpable, and his incompetence became increasingly evident to the entire team. The breaking point came on Thursday, my penultimate day at the company. A critical bug in the main system threatened to bring down the entire production platform during business hours. It was exactly the kind of emergency they always call me to solve in a matter of minutes. Lucas appeared at my desk with desperate eyes. "Daniel, please, just this once. Help us fix this, and then you can leave." I looked at him with the same serene expression I had maintained throughout that week. "Lucas, you're the vice president of development now. That's your responsibility." And I stood up picked up my personalized coffee mug, and calmly walked out of the building, leaving them to deal with the consequences of their own choices. The following Monday, while I was signing my employment papers at Ascend Technologies in Austin, Ascend Performance was officially launched on the market. The industry's response was absolutely spectacular. TechCrunch published an article titled The Performance Management Revolution has arrived, and Forbes ranked me as a visionary who is redefining corporate efficiency. Jennifer Walsh, Ascend CEO, personally welcomed me on my first day. Daniel, you not only brought revolutionary technology, you brought a new perspective on how we value true talent. We are honored to have you as our Vice President of Innovation. My new team was composed of 15 senior developers, 3 machine learning specialists, and 2 UX/UI designers, all handpicked, all with proven track records of technical excellence. For the first time in years, I was surrounded by people who share my passion for elegant solutions and genuine innovation. Meanwhile, the situation at Innovate deteriorated rapidly. Without my presence to keep critical systems functioning properly, cascading failures began to affect daily operations. The bug I refused to solve on Thursday took over 72 hours to fix, costing the company approximately $500,000 in downtime and customer compensation. Lucas, desperate and clearly out of his depth, tried to hire external consultants to solve problems I used to fix in a matter of hours. Each consultant charged between $500 and $1,000 per hour, and still took days to deliver solutions I would consider at best temporary patches. 3 weeks after my departure, I received an unexpected call. It was Marcus Chun, a former colleague who still worked at Innovate. Daniel, man, you need to know what's going on here. Lucas had a nervous breakdown during a client meeting. The project management system completely failed, and he couldn't even explain what caused the problem, let alone how to fix it. Thompson is desperate. The irony was delicious. The company that had chosen charisma over competence was now reaping exactly what had sown. But the cue to grass came completely naturally. Ascend Performance began attracting clients who were previously exclusive to Innovate. Our platform offered everything their antiquated solution promised, but with superior performance, a more intuitive interface, and most importantly, real technical support. Microsoft, Google, and Tesla migrated their performance management systems to our platform in a matter of weeks. Every client they lost represented millions of dollars in annual contracts. What satisfied me most was not just the financial success, but the technical validation. I had created something objectively superior, and the market was recognizing it. The specialized press began making direct comparisons between the two platforms, and the results were devastating for Innovate. Where Innovate fails, Ascend Performance shines, wrote Wire magazine. It's like comparing a modern smartphone to a rotary dial phone. Thompson, in an act of absolute desperation, tried one last gambit. He called me personally, offering a partnership agreement between the companies. His voice trembled as he spoke. Daniel, we can work together. Innovate can license your technology. You can be our strategic consultant. Mr. Thompson, I replied with the same calm I always maintained. Innovate had 10 years to value my contribution. Now it's too late. 6 months later, I read in the Wall Street Journal that Thompson had been forced to retire to pursue new personal challenges. The corporate euphemism for it was fired by the board of directors. His reputation as a visionary leader had been completely destroyed. Lucas was demoted to a junior position in another department where his technical incompetence would be less damaging. Innovate, unable to compete with superior technologies and having lost its main clients, was acquired by a private equity conglomerate for a fraction of its previous market value. It was exactly the fate that its decisions based on favoritism and internal politics had ensured. Meanwhile, at Ascend Technologies, I implemented a completely different culture. We created an evaluation system based exclusively on measurable results. It didn't matter if someone was introverted or extroverted, if they had a Harvard MBA or were self-taught. What mattered was the quality of the code, the elegance of solutions, and the ability to deliver real value. My team thrived in this environment. We developed 3 new disruptive technologies in the first year, all patented and licensed to tech giants. I became a mentor to talented young developers who had been overlooked at other companies for not having the right leadership profile. Years later, during a tech conference in San Francisco, I ran into Lucas by chance. He was clearly embarrassed to see me, knowing our last interaction had been when he desperately begged for my help. "Daniel," he said hesitantly, "congratulations on all your success. You were always brilliant." "Thank you, Lucas," I replied genuinely. "I hope you found a position where your skills are better utilized." There was no bitterness in my voice. There was no need. My revenge had not been an act of anger or resentment. It had been a relentless and elegant demonstration that real competence always triumphs over corporate politics, that genuine innovation always wins over superficial charm, and that true value always finds its recognition, even if it's not where we initially expected. Today, 5 years later, Ascend Technologies is one of the fastest growing tech companies in the United States. Our valuation has grown from $200 million to $3 billion. I own enough equity to never worry about financial security again. But more importantly, I've built a legacy based on technical excellence and true meritocracy. The best revenge I discovered isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a success so grand and unshakable that they are forced to acknowledge your true worth, even if it's too late for them to benefit from it. If you enjoyed this story, like this video, and leave your comment telling me what you thought. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications of new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.